I was about to walk out frustrated, and instead I walked out loyal. And it only took 2 minutes. And so, brick and mortar store owner, this is your chance. My name is Sarah Marshall. I'm your brick and mortar and consignment store coach. To date, I have coached over 500 brick and mortar store owners, most of them being consignment stores, but now I have coached salons, chiropractors, artists, you name it. In my own brick and mortar store, I went from $13,000 months to $40,000 months, and I did that in a very small rural town of just 6,000 people. Let's get into this 2-minute hack that will keep your customers loyal. All right, so the other day, I was in my neighboring town, which is a little bit bigger than the town that I live in, and I was going to this brand new local coffee shop. Now, it's been in our town for I don't know, about 6 months, maybe even a year, but I had never been in there. I am actually not a coffee drinker. I am a tea drinker, but I grew up drinking hot tea. My mom was a hot tea drinker. She drinks hot tea every single morning. Sometimes she'll follow it with a cup of coffee, but she always started with hot tea. And I just thought her ritual was so cool. And so when I got into like middle school, high school, I started drinking hot tea myself because I loved it because my mom did it. And sometimes it's something that we would do together in the afternoons, and I love everything about it. I went into this coffee shop, but I was there to get hot tea. But do you know that when your customers come into your place for the first time, there's a lot of what I like to call barriers to entry. So, we have to figure out where to park. We have to figure out what door to enter if you have multiple doors on your business. Maybe you have a front door, you have a back door, you have a side door. When you walk in and you've never been into a business, you're figuring out the layout. So you want to know in a restaurant, I'm in a coffee shop, right? So I'm immediately looking at where do I order? And so I'm trying to get a feel for all of those things. So I'm walking in and I'm having this very first time customer experience, which is what your customers experience all of the time. And we want, as brick and mortar stores, to have new foot traffic coming into our doors constantly. And so, I'm a coach in the industry, right? I coach brick and mortar store owners of all sorts. And so I look at things maybe a little bit more in depth than your standard average customer. I'm looking at how the flow of foot traffic goes. I'm looking at, is signage very apparent? Am I having to struggle to do what I'm here to do? So I'm intaking all of this information. I'm walking in the door, and in a typical coffee shop, what you would find is maybe like an overhead board, a sign of some sort that's going to state the menu. And then typically when you get to the counter, there will be a menu and an additional format. And so once I figured out where the counter was, and I kind of got my grip on like where seating was, kind of who was there, I kind of scanned the area, right? So I'm just getting a grip on my feel, the vibe that's going on in this place. And then I get to the counter, there was like a sandwich board, right? Like with the letters and the lines, just a sandwich board. And I'm not even kidding you, there were 6 things on it. I'm looking for tea, and it literally just said tea, just tea, not hot tea, cold tea, just tea, and then the dollar amount. And I was so confused by this menu because I'm thinking, surely there's got to be more to this. And immediately my brain is kind of firing with questions. Are there options? Are there size options? The people behind the counter, there was 2 younger, I would say younger men behind the counter, probably in their early 20s. And they had not yet greeted me at that point. And I was standing in front of the place where I would order. I would assume that I'm wearing all of the feelings on my face, and I'm kind of struggling through looking at this very simplistic menu, and I have lots of questions. But I turned to one of the people behind the counter and I just said, hey, is there an additional menu? And the answer was no, this is our menu. But that was all they said. I was like, okay, so I'm looking for, and I'm very confident in myself, right? I know what I like. I know what I'm looking for. I'm not uncomfortable in this scenario, but there's many, many people who would be uncomfortable and who would not put themselves out there. Some people actually might just turn around and walk out because I shouldn't have necessarily had to say, I'm looking for this. Do you have it? It should have been, well, what do you like? We can help you pick something, right? Or tell you a little bit more about our options. So I said, I really like hot tea, and I'm looking for hot tea. Do you have different flavors of hot tea? Do you have hot tea, or is it cold tea? I can't tell by your menu. And are there different sizes? And they gave me the answers. So I order my hot tea. Now, at this very moment, I had had a first-time experience with a lot of friction. And the goal of any brick and mortar store is to lessen the friction of a new customer. When a new customer comes into your store, we want them to automatically get cues by signage, by direction of how we have our store laid out, by all of these things. Customer service, we should be greeted. I mean, all of these things should give us a very, very stable sense of what this business is, what it does, how we're supposed to come and get our product or service, get what we need. And at this very moment, I'm waiting for my tea to be prepared and I'm frustrated. And at this moment, they had absolutely lost me as a customer. I had not had great customer service experience. There was a lot of friction in ordering. So I'm standing there and, definitely those two men behind the counter are not talking to me or carrying on conversation. So I'm kind of looking around and then I see the gold. So here's what we're talking about today. This is what absolutely brought me from just being like a frustrated customer that they were about to lose. I would never have gone back to that business ever again to I'm now a loyal customer. And I might even tell somebody about their store. I'm not even kidding. So here's what happened. I saw this poster on the wall. I mean, it was big and it was framed. And it almost looked like a blog article, if you will, like a newsletter, like a newspaper of some sort, like a big title and a story. And there was a picture of a woman in a circle, kind of left aligned, right? And the story was around it. And then there was a banner on the bottom, a lot of words. And I sat there because I had nothing else to do. And I was reading, and what this story was, it was an origin story. And let me just tell you just a little bit. There was a mother who had this vision and this dream of this coffee shop and what the coffee shop meant to her and what community and the coffee shop in this community meant to her, what the quality of the coffee meant to her, and how she became this so passionate about a coffee shop. But before she was able to open the coffee shop that she had started to open already, she got really sick. And all of her dreams kind of got pushed aside and she ended up passing away. But her family was so on board with her vision and this passion that they opened the coffee shop for her with what she had started. And I'm telling you, like I was sitting there nearly in tears, like getting choked up by this beautiful, well-written origin story. I felt like I was automatically this woman's friend. Not only did I feel like I was her friend, I felt like I was part of the family. I was like, wow, I can get behind this vision. Like I want to be part of the family. I want to be part of the community that comes around this kind of vision and this meaning. This coffee shop has more meaning to it than just selling coffee. And all of a sudden, I was a loyal fan because I loved this woman. I loved her vision. And I loved what this family did in order to honor their mother. Like, oh, come on. As a mom myself, I was just like, I mean, I'm telling you, I was like crying, reading this thing. I was like holding back tears, trying to not like ugly cry in front of all of these people and just waiting for my hot tea because they had that on the wall. I got on board with their business. And even though I had had a pretty frustrating customer service experience, I didn't understand that simplicity was part of the story. It was part of her vision. So she wanted the menu to be simplistic. She wanted there to be like 6 things on this menu that they serve really, really well. She wanted there to be no sizes. She wanted there to be very few options because she didn't want it to be about all of the frou-frou-ness of what coffee has become. She wanted it to be about community and about coming together and just being able to order one really, really good thing and like holding a hot beverage in your hand and bringing friends together. So like the coffee shop itself has so many couches, tables, and just it's all about community. This woman's vision was simplicity so that it wasn't about the coffee. It wasn't about the tea. It was about who's with you while you're drinking that. I'm serious. It made me want to call a friend and say, let's come have coffee together and hot tea together next week in this place. And that feeling is something that you can't take away. I had this, and then all of a sudden I understood. It's like her story gave me grace for the frustrating customer service. It's like it gave me grace for the things that I didn't understand about the business. It gave me grace for the things that I didn't necessarily like, but now all of a sudden, because I knew that this was her vision and her family was carrying this out for her, I all of a sudden loved it. I loved the simplistic menu, and now I think that it's even better. I'm like, I want to go tell my friends, this place has like 6 things, and this is why. And now I'm telling her story to get people on board with this coffee shop, all because of a poster on the wall. And so here's the thing, your origin story, it matters. It matters a lot. And whatever made you become passionate about your business, whatever made you love your business in the first place, that matters. It matters to your customers because it builds relationship. And the way that you carry out your business, the things that you really care about, right? So like no 2 small businesses that do the same thing are the same because the owners are different. And the owners have different preferences. We have different morals. We have different characteristics. We are different. And that means that we conduct our business differently. We stand for different things. And that makes that business unique because you are uniquely you. But some of those things our customers don't understand unless we tell them. We tell them why. We tell them why we're passionate about it. We tell them why we do what we do. We tell them how we're coming to make these decisions and why. And so this matters and it builds relationship. I all of a sudden feel like I'm friends with this lady and it makes me want to go back. Relationship builds trust. When we trust the other person that we're in relationship with, then all of a sudden we can have influence in that relationship. And when we start to build genuine relationship with our customers, we can have influence over them. Not this like cringy, manipulative influence, but our customers will want to buy with us and spend more with us and be with us more and give more referrals and word of mouth when we have relationship with them because they trust us. And what better way to start that trust building relationship than to just literally share your origin story? It is the simplest form of relationship building. Let them get to know you a little bit better. Pull back the curtain, peel it back a little bit, and let them in on your why. Let them in on what makes you tick every day, what's making you get up in the morning and literally do the things that are super, super hard to do. Small business owning is not for the birds. It is hard. It is hard. And so we want to share that. We want to share that because you never know what customers might truly relate to that story and become loyal fans just because you put a newsletter on the wall or just because you made a video and you shared it on your social media and maybe you share a different form of your story each and every day. I mean, maybe you make it a point to share a little bit about yourself and your story once a month and you just kind of peel back the curtain. Maybe even think about going to your website and looking at that very vague ChatGPT written about introduction, you know, that like biography that you put up there. And is it generic or are you really telling people a little bit about yourself? Is it written in a way that makes people have a feeling, that it makes them think, wow, this is something I relate to, or this is something I want to be a part of, or they are so passionate about this thing, it's gotta be good. Is it giving them a feeling? And we want them to catch that. And they can't catch it unless we give it to them. So here is your sign. Go build some relationships. Now, I want you to think in my business, where could be a great place for me to post my origin story. Now, social media is always a good one. Website, always a great one. Google business, always a great place. But in my actual physical brick and mortar store, is there a place that people are relaxing and waiting for a minute? If you sell a service, is there a place that they're waiting for the service to be provided? If you sell a product, is there a place that maybe as they're waiting in the checkout line? And I'm telling you, this might sound very, very silly, but if you have a public bathroom, don't snooze on the bathroom. People like to read in the bathroom. And so, women, they're sitting, men, they're standing. Why don't you think about putting something in front or behind them, giving them something to read while they're going to the bathroom? I know that sounds super, super silly, but you want to give them an opportunity to read about you without you physically having to be there to tell that story to every single person. That is a really great way to be one to many, right? We're telling one story to many, many, many people. We can do that through something posted. And this poster was framed. It was beautiful. I was like, it looked so interesting that I was like, it looked like almost like a newsletter or a blog post or something, framed and on the wall. I was like, wow, what is this? And so I started reading it because it wasn't just a piece of random artwork that they got from Home Goods. As somebody who teaches and trains in the brick and mortar space, I was like, this is it. Everybody needs to be doing this. So this will take you, really, you could probably crank this out and order this in less than 30 minutes. And then who knows, you're going to get a me walking into your store and you're going to have that hourly employee who really is not giving great customer service, and you're about to lose that person. And then they read your origin story and they're like, yeah, okay, I have a little bit more grace for that customer service experience and I'm on board with this. And I'm going to come back here. So if you found this super, super helpful, subscribe for more. If you are a consignment store owner, I have a membership that you would absolutely love that will give you the exact blueprint of how to run your consignment store A to Z and increase your sales while you're at it. And if you're any other brick and mortar business, a salon, an art studio, a chiropractor, a restaurant, come and join Brick and Mortar Edge. We are increasing foot traffic through that membership. Come and join me, and I'll see you in the next video.